We're back with another one. I'm just going to be going over the trade that we took today, what we didn't take and wanted to take, and just giving you guys a quick trade recap for the day. The trade we took was on GJ. We start looking at GJ at the start of New York Open, which is about 8 a.m. in the morning, EST. So from a daily standpoint, we can clearly tell that G is making breaks of structure to the upside. Even though this internally looks bearish, I'd say that the invalidation of this order block and the retest within the lower time frame, such as the 4 hour of the order block and the price coming back and then retesting the order block and coming right back up, suggests that price actually may not be as bearish as it seems. So I essentially played the invalidation structure that was being built. So if you notice here, you have 4 hour structure that's coming down off of this order block here, right? So I'm going down to the hourly and saying, cool, I know that we have structure that's building up within here, but the hourly just flipped bullish. I want to see the reaction off of this break of structure, so order block here, right? So when you actually look at what happens here, I guess the full narrative starts to make a little bit more sense because we're still running towards our fourth take profit. But yeah, so what you can tell is internally we actually change character here and break structure, right? And I do know that this is the order block. So coming into London, we notice that, okay, we react off of it, but we fail to break structure many, many times. And finally comes New York, right? And we break structure once. And mind you, news comes out at 8:30. So I'm like, okay, let me wait for that news to drop because most likely, even though it's not directly correlated to the British pound and the Japanese yen, it is US news and it's unemployment claims. It still seems to affect the charts always. So what you want to do is actually wait for news to get released. So off news release, we can actually see that, okay, pre-news, we had that 15-minute break of structure. So I'm like, damn, I would have preferred for us to not break 15-minute structure. Initially, in fact, I was actually looking for a trade within here in this 15-minute order block because I noticed this break of structure. But the only reason why I didn't take it, well, two reasons, in fact, was the fact that there was one news that was coming out. So I had to be extremely picky with what I took. But also, I noticed that there were other PDRAs that price could actually come to and look to one, fill, if not invalidate. So I was like, okay, I want all of the PDRAs to either be filled so that if price comes back, it does reverse, or if price comes to it and reacts properly, I can look to flip long. So I was going to flip long here had this fair value gap been invalidated, because that would have been the invalidation that I needed to make this 5-minute break of structure valid and this 5-minute retrace to build a 5-minute extension candle upwards. But instead, I noticed that it was in fact validated. So now I said, okay, where's the nearest draw and where have longs been accumulated? And come news, what exactly happens? We mitigate a 5-minute/15-minute order block. You have this break of structure here, the move down before the expansion. This entire thing is an order block. I just refined it by also sort of taking the demand zone, but it's just the order block right there. And I see that news pretty much sweeps out these lows and immediately reacts off of them. So I'm thinking, okay, very, very nice. But I'm still not going to take this trade just yet. I can't FOMO into this. One, for the risk to reward, I need to know how price is going to move. And two, well, if we had our stops here, we would have made no money. So the second thing was actually invalidation of other POIs. PDRAs. So we had this fair value gap here. We had this fair value gap that was respected here. And also this one that's being respected. So I wanted to get the invalidation of all of them. So I could say, okay, if price does come back, it's likely coming back to respect the bullish PDRAs and continue. Because in general, invalidation of PDRAs lets you see where market's sort of going. You tend to see we make, if you look at the market here, it's just an example. Everything looks bullish so far. Where do we flip bearish? Sure, we flip bearish here. What happens? This is the previous order block that flipped this bearish. You get a reaction off of it, and then you immediately invalidate it with a break of structure followed right by. What does that mean? Most likely the high is going to get purged. Make sense? We can go one more time here. Okay, we get this bearish break of structure down. Boom, price comes back in. Not equilibrium, but does attempts. And we see price do what? Make a fair value gap, invalidate, right? as you're invalidating more price areas like this right here, the breaker that broke this, guess what? Invalidated. Most likely, what does that mean? This high is getting taken. Make sense? And price just keeps on doing that. So we want to find those invalidation of PD arrays so that we can actually enter in those as one confluences. Obviously, these are not the main confluences that we'd like to see. We'd like to see structure shift in our direction, orders get filled in our direction, imbalances get targeted in our direction, right? So with that being said, here we start to see what news come in, sweep. From that sweep, we see 1, 2, 3. We're taking out this fair value gap, this fair value gap, invalidating this fair value gap. And finally, we get to this, and I'm like, okay, I'm looking to enter this move, but I would still love to see this thing get invalidated. As I see the price get to it, I'm like, okay. And I see how this candle moves. I'm like, okay, now, slightly experienced, you could say. As the candle's about to close, I'm talking like maybe 10, 15 seconds, and I'm like, okay, this will get invalidated. Let me enter. This was the entry. And from here, I left the stops at this previous low. Most people would leave them under here, and that would be good, but it would negatively impact my risk to reward because now this trade is going to make me approximately 3R if it hits final TP, right? Had I been stopped out, I could enter again and still make money on it. Make sense? Whereas had I had my stop loss here, right, that would have been a 3R trade, right? And after securing, that looks like you're probably going to make a 1.5R at final TP because securing along the way is going to cost you lots of money. So that's something that I like to do because when you secure along the way, it requires you to be less right, if that makes sense. You don't have to actually predict the full move. You can actually predict a minor reaction on the lower time frame and still make money, right? So with that being said, I don't think that that's a good way to go about it. I'd rather have my stops under this low here because one, it's still a very good low and it did hold, sorry, it was the one preceding the purge. So I was like, okay, this is a good low to target. And I do not recommend doing this if you're just starting out because it takes sometimes you just really need to know when and when not to do this. But with that being said, price ran directly to our first take profit, second take profit, third, and we're now on the way to the fourth. And this should make me about 3R. I'm currently secured for 2R, so we'll see how the rest of this trade plays out. I just thought I'd do this trade recap for you guys. Also, I actually dropped this inside of the Discord. I pretty much drop whatever trade I take every day in there for free. It's just to help you guys, and I don't think it really helps that much now that I think about it. But I pretty much dropped the full trade here for them. I have a slight runner. Okay, I lied here, but I sent them the full trade, and I was like, okay, guys, I can't be that fast at the end of the day. It was really slow. Screenshotting took a bit. But yeah, took the trade on the validation of the fair value gap, was slightly higher. You'll see that on the trading view, but take profit 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the way now. And I mean, I'm running 3 and 1 on the week. I'd say that that's not bad. And yeah, I mean, I'm currently up 4R, I'd say, for the week. By the time I close this out, I should be up 4R, which isn't bad. Not a great week, but it's still a really solid week. Yeah, like and subscribe for the next one, and I'll probably continue on making other stuff about my day. And yeah, join the Discord if you do want to learn, though. We can get on calls for free.